Michelle Bloomer and I taught a course called Write for Law and Order, which is a combined learning community. It was integrated, that combined basic writing and law and order. And we covered many topics, from all the ones that students need to learn to enhance their writing and be able then at the end of the course to take English Comp 1, and as well as to get some background knowledge on criminal justice and different topics in that field. I think that I was chosen to be Michelle's co-teacher. She had seen me perform or present, actually, a little mini unit on study skills. And I was a new hire. She'd been on the hiring committee, and she thought I might be a good person to work with and really to improve the skills that she saw were kind of vacant in many of her students. So I was chosen by her, as well as I think some other person who was in charge of the learning communities. Our best practices have been ones that we have created that really mesh the two fields that we teach. For example, there is a short story that talks about an ethical dilemma and the consequences of that choice. And Michelle then, after I had presented the story and analyzed the introduction, thesis statement, the body, the conclusion, she then took that story and applied it to various criminal justice things that we were learning in class, such as dispute resolution, grievance, and that really worked because we were really melding our two fields together. And that was just a great topic. We also did a lot of teamwork and group work. We did units on bullying, on snitching, on different ways to bring our students to the knowledge that they were going into a law and order field, a field of criminal justice, where they needed to be able to report things and not hide them. So we would work on different, not only specific skills in writing, but then having them work in groups and either work on persuading each other to believe something else, or different elements that would lead our students to be able to walk down a criminal justice field and be able to report things. Whereas in high school, they don't like to be the snitch. So that was very interesting. A lot of what we did along those lines was very effective. And that also helped us to foster a real sense of community in terms of what we did. Because we would often mix different students in different groups. And as a result of that, we found that our students were very friendly with each other. They would leave class after class together, and they even signed up for classes in the future together. It has been a truly wonderful experience for the students and for us. And in terms of the way that we have related, I think that's really enhanced the feeling of community in our classes. We didn't know each other before we started this process, but we did learn that we have very similar values in terms of ethics and morals and the way students develop. And the longer that we worked together, the more we realized what our students needed. For example, one of the things that this past year we really concentrated on was working really hard to improve our students' reading skills, because criminal justice material is very difficult. And so what we would do was teach them different reading strategies, which would then help them with the readings, whether it was to actually teach them how to take notes on reading or use different strategies that I, as a reading teacher, know have been helpful to students, such as teaching them how to annotate their text, or doing a think aloud or talk to text, and record their notes in what we call a reading log. And this, we felt, really raised their ability to read and improved their note-taking. And we saw real differences in terms of their comprehension. In terms of collaboration, if Michelle was lecturing on different topics in criminal justice, I would do the notes on the board. And towards the end of the semester, the students were regularly taking notes without needing me to prompt them or show them how to do it. So it became a process. We would also kind of jump into what each other was discussing and really talk about our own perspectives. We were very comfortable in class. In fact, one of our students reacted after the second week of class and said that he thought that the two of us must rehearse over the weekends because we would finish each other's sentences. And that we enjoyed. It does require, when you teach a learning community, constant communication and collaboration. And at the beginning, I have to say I felt a little insecure doing it because I almost felt like overshadowed by the power of the course. Criminal justice, for criminal justice students, is far more interesting than teaching English and having students learn how to write. But the more that I felt supported by Michelle and the more she impressed upon the students the importance of learning how to write and read well, the more I felt supported. So I think it was important that we voiced and had discussions over perhaps my own insecurity or her own awareness that her students were having trouble reading. We also, one other thing that was really effective was we had a test-taking unit. And it was Michelle's idea. I created the test-taking unit for the most part. It was a number of things I'd put together. And what we decided to do that Michelle thought was a great idea, and after seeing it I realized was a wonderful idea, was to put students into groups and have one student who was very strong in each group be the leader. And they would have to bring their notes in prior to the test and share them with the rest of the group and show them actually how they took their notes, what material they thought was important, and walk them through the process and then have those same students help each other study. So that we created these work groups and study groups, and it made a huge difference in their tests. All their scores went up 15 points higher than we'd seen in the past. So we felt like the collaboration was just very strong. In terms of grading, what we did was we graded pretty much, every essay was graded collaboratively. We would split them up, take them home, we created a rubric, and then we would get together, switch them, and then we would get together and have to agree on a grade. So it certainly was a fair amount of work, but the two of us felt that both of our perspectives were valid and valuable, and we felt that that worked for us. But it did require a lot of extra time and energy. But all in all, it's a very fulfilling experience. And it certainly, and I think that's because you put a lot into it. And as I always say to my students, the more you put into something, the more you get out of something. And that was the truth for us. So I felt it was a very effective, enjoyable